The Lakers came back. How much were they down against Minnesota? 15? Came back from down 15 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They showed some of that grit that they've shown all year long. This team fights, man. The Lakers, say what you will about them, but they fight. And their games have been very entertaining down the stretch as they've fought and clawed their way into that 7 seed. They're in the playoffs somehow, inexplicably. They completely overhauled their roster at the trade deadline. It's a balanced basketball team. And they're going to face a Memphis team that's got some questions right now, guys. No Steven Adams. No Brandon Clark. They're not getting the offensive rebounds, those second chance opportunities that their offense relies on. How do you guys feel just right off the bat, Memphis, LA?
I think, one, we have to talk about the fact, I think the Lakers are getting Memphis at the perfect time to get Memphis with those guys injured, with the front court kind of depleted. I feel like for the Lakers, this is actually a great opportunity for them to steal a series, not just a game, not just make this extended series, to steal a series. I think what's fascinating about that is they're probably deeper in the front court than Memphis, and Memphis is just way better in the backcourt than them. And I think that's really where the challenge comes is, which positions are really going to win their battles and who's going to go completely nuts in that. I think this is a really an interesting series, and I hate to do it because everybody's always like, oh, the Lakers can win the championship, and we always roll our eyes. This is a series the Lakers can win. This is a lot closer than people realize, I think. And, a couple of things break their way. This works out for them. And Memphis, if they were fully healthy, the series is over. I don't think this is a series the Lakers can win, but now depleted without Steven Adams, without Clark, it's a problem for them. And I think this is really concerning.
So I think that it's funny that the top 2 seeds in the West, I think, are being slept on a little bit in terms of I think people are being a little overly dismissive in general of the Nuggets and Grizzlies. And while I don't disagree with anything that Mo said, the Lakers came back from 15, but they had a lot of help. And I think that needs to be acknowledged, because I think, it was a stirring comeback, but it was a poorly played game. And I think we need to acknowledge that. In terms of this matchup, stop me if you've heard this before, but Jaren Jackson's ability to stay out of foul trouble is going to be a pretty key game-to-game determinant of this. I think if he's in the game, I kind of wonder about the Lakers' ability to generate offense, because if they're going to have a lineup on the floor that can guard it all, they don't have enough shooting. And if they have a lineup that can shoot, then you have D'Angelo Russell guarding Ja Morant. And I think everyone knows exactly how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, if they have a non-shooter, so Jared Vanderbilt, if he's out there, Jaren Jackson is going to guard him, and he's going to get to roam. And he's one of the best roamers in the league. I mean, he really, this season, I think, just dominated in that role when given the opportunity. So the Lakers are going to have to shuffle their lineup a little bit, because I don't know how they guard without Vanderbilt. So let's talk this out a little bit. If Memphis wins, what does it look like, guys? How do they win? Is it just Ja Morant getting penetration?
It's Ja Morant getting penetration. It's Desmond Bane killing it on the second side when it gets swung to him. It's Dillon Brooks not taking dumbass shots. It's across the board, just a concentrated effort there. And defensively, them kind of just cobbling enough together, and finding a way of, hey, we'll let AD get his, but we're not going to let LeBron go nuts or whatnot. I think that's something that's really important to really kind of look at in this series with all of that. Because, Dillon Brooks will hound guys defensively. He'll probably be on LeBron. I don't know if that's as great a matchup as people will think. I think LeBron can be a bit of a bull when he wants to be, but the key word is wants to be. I think this stuff will get interesting. And there's a lot of tension in this, this is kind of a rivalry series. There's a lot of that. I mean, a lot of our rivalry series involve Memphis because they've just been so annoying. They went from being fun to being annoying to a degree that it's been an issue. And I think this is something we're watching for. But for Memphis, if their guards perform, make shots, and really don't get crushed defensively, I think they win this series easily.
I think the depletion of Memphis's front court is a little bit of a double-edged sword in that it's going to mean that Jaren Jackson plays almost exclusively at the five. And I think that actually will serve to compromise LA's defense a little bit. Unless you're going to have like Vanderbilt guard him, and then you have Vanderbilt on offense. But if they're run pick and pop, that pulls AD away from the basket, and without AD around the basket, like there is very little resistance at the rim from the rest of the Lakers, and that obviously plays into John Morant's hands above all, and that him being able to get to the rim, being challenged by Austin Reeves and 38-year-old LeBron and whoever else. I think that is a recipe for success for Memphis offensively.
Well, what does it look like to you guys if the Lakers happen to pull this off? It's going to be 7 if the Lakers win. I think it's got to go longer, unless obviously injuries aside. I think if the Lakers are going to win, it's going to be a rock fight, which is kind of what they've been doing well, which is part of why their games have been so entertaining. Again, I understand this is not conventional basketball take, that ugly basketball can be fun to watch, but I like a struggle. And the Lakers have shown fight all year. LeBron James, when it comes to playoff time, the guy knows how to win basketball games from a just functional standpoint. He knows how to captain the ship. I have a hard time going against LeBron, especially in a first round series. The talent disparity, there is one. Obviously, I mean, when you get past LeBron and AD, there's a sharp decline in talent. And Memphis,
Can't believe you would forget Austin Reeves and that trio.
When you get past LeBron and AD, there is a massive drop in talent. And with Minnesota, they just have a lot of guys who can really play and really fly too. That's the other thing. The energy that they have. They have a lot of guys. Santi Aldama can come off the bench and just fly around. John Conchar, they just have all of these guys that you can trust to go out and do stuff. And the Lakers don't, but they have LeBron and they have AD. And so I give them a shot. So what does a win for the Lakers look like?
They win this series if AD's MVP AD throughout the entire series. And I think that's really what it comes down to. Can Anthony Davis really just blow up and the way continue to play the way he did down the stretch that really got the Lakers into the play-in tournament? Remember, they started this whole thing and LeBron was hurt and they were 13th in the standings, and they had a shot even to get out of the play-in tournament in general. I think there's an interesting opportunity for them. This is a moment for AD right here to like really kind of put his just step up to the table and really kind of step up to in a way that carries the Lakers, because I think it's got to be him. LeBron's great. LeBron's also in his 20th year. You saw it in that game against Minnesota. He gets tired quicker. He can't carry the team for an entire game, let alone an entire series. This one goes on AD's back. They win this. AD is just by far the best player on the court throughout the entire series.
As Dave said, if LA wins, it's a grimy series. Seems kind of weird to say that that the grittier the series is advantage LA over Memphis. But I think that
the Skid Row Lakers.
I think that I think that
we shouldn't have done that one.
that ties into kind of what Mo said. Like if it's that kind of grimy series, and they're going to win, that means Anthony Davis has been just the physically dominant force in this series, and we know he has that in him. Does he have that in him for 38 minutes a night for 7 games?
Might be 40 minutes a night, to be honest with you. And I think there's a couple of things that for the Lakers, the most important thing is they need to get the Grizzlies playing in the half court. The Grizzlies are not a very good half court offense team. They're not. And that's actually where you get some of these questionable shots that come across the board and things like that. It's very jaw dependent, which, yeah, as it should be. And then, Bane on the weak side. But in general, like, it's not a great half court offense. There's not a lot of layers to what they're trying to do offensively. I think the other side of it, and the other thing that's kind of an advantage for the Lakers that nobody's discussed, the schedule for the first 3 games works out perfectly for them. There's 2 days off in between games. They play game 1 on Sunday. They played on Tuesday. So that's actually a lot of rest for LeBron, including a travel day. It's 3-hour flight to Memphis. Boom, deal with it. But that's a lot of rest. They play Sunday. I believe they play Wednesday, and then they play Saturday. It's a lot of time off. And that opens up a lot of doors to get LeBron a little rested, and you can get some bounce from LeBron early in the series there. And I think that's important. If they could steal a game in Memphis, this thing is going to be interesting.
Does Ja Morant need to make threes for Memphis to win? Because I do think that the Lakers they're gonna make him prove it that he can hit shots.
Well, so is everybody else. I think Ja Morant needs to get to the rim. He needs to be a terrorist at the rim. And by doing that, sucking in the defense and forcing guys to have to really kind of move around and scramble in that sense. I think that's the game there. I think Ja has to really get into the paint more than shoot the threes. And they're going to leave him open. They're going to give him those opportunities. But we've also seen a lot of teams do that. And I think it's very hard considering how fast that freaking kid is.
Who guards Ja in this series?
What's the match? Jared
Reeves.
Vanderbilt. I think Jared Vanderbilt probably starts on him. If I had to guess, that's been their MO since he's gotten there. Put him on the opposing team's point guard or best player. Force them to. Jared Vanderbilt is a beautiful defender. The guy just forces you away from what you want to do. And if you think about a Ja and Jaren pick and roll, pick and pop, and you've got Vanderbilt and Anthony Davis, I trust those guys to guard it. But I think the issue comes with you're robbing Peter to pay Paul when you play Vanderbilt. You're boosting your defense and you're making your defense much better, but it's going to hurt your offense. They're going to dare him to shoot. They're not going to guard him. Jaren Jackson's going to be floating around, not worried about Vanderbilt at all. And Vanderbilt can make him pay if he cuts back door, because there are times Memphis can sometimes fall asleep ball watching. And Mo, we talked about this a lot with Memphis. When they're locked in, they're great, but they get a little bit front runnery. And when things are going well for them in transition, you can see a little bit of that show up on defense. Never for Jaren though. So that's the thing that the Lakers really have to contend with.
I'm going to push back a little bit in that I don't think Jared Vanderbilt has a prayer of staying in front of Morant. I don't think he navigates screens especially well if they want to go that way. And if they just spread the floor, have Ja back up to half court and get a running start, I don't think Vanderbilt, I think unless he's allowed to be extremely handsy, kind of where they kind of meet each other, I just don't think that he, Morant is faster and more slippery than pretty much anyone else in the league. And I don't think the theory of it, I understand. The actuality, I don't think will look that way.
I think if that's the case, Seth, I think then it just comes down to, all right, screw it. We can't guard him. Guard the hell out of everybody else. And I think that's really then what it comes down to. And that's where it's like, we're going to let Ja get his. He's going to average 38 this series. But everybody else is going to average 10. And that's, I think, or whatever. And I think that might be the actual strategy, because you've been in meetings. I've been in coaches' meetings where we walked in going like, well, can't stop.
We have no answer for that guy.
Yeah. Like the options are not good. So, and then then you pivot. And I think that might be the pivot we do. I know we got to move on, Dave. So
no. Well, no. And they are going to relentlessly attack Ja on offense. That is going to happen. Like, we know that the switch has been flipped to playoff time, and it's all about the weakest matchup. Who's the weakest guy on the court? We're going to find him. We're going to go at him. And Ja is one of the weaker defenders in the league, much less in this series. And I think we're going to see a lot of this is where I hope the Grizzlies don't soft switch and don't give it up. Like, Ja should just try to fight and avoid these switches, because when Ja gets switched on to LeBron James, that feels like LeBron's going to go to the line a lot, guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those instances where we're going to see Ja. Can he defend? He can't be a nothing on defense. He can't be a negative on defense. He's got to give a little more effort. He's got to avoid switches. And I think that's going to be an interesting one for how they kind of handle that when they come at him, because that's exactly who they're going to come at. And then when Luke Kennard's on the court, they're going to go at Luke Kennard. I feel like there's going to be a lot of different ways they're going to attack this team. And I think this isn't a sweep to me. Like Memphis can win this in 5. I could see this going 7. Like, this could be a real battle. Like, this can get ugly pretty quick.
It's funny the way we're describing how they're going to deal with Ja. Like, Luka Doncic isn't in the playoffs, but the Luka rules are like make him like, basically body blows for 7 games, and he's going to hope he wears down. And I think that's a very credible strategy in this case for, as you say, Dave, like make him work a ton on defense. And if he's going to have to get to the rim 25 times a game, okay, for 1 game, for 2 games, how do the legs feel game 5?
Well, this is where the Grizzlies youth, and guess what? They get the same rest that the Lakers get. So that could also help them out quite a bit too.